Woo, man! I know Jalen Hurts is enjoying his Taco Tuesday, man. $255 million, the richest player in NFL history, gentlemen.
Annually,
Man,
yeah. Him and Aaron Rodgers got a lot in common right now.
and yeah, and we
Just to
just
keep this
talked about these. We just talked about these quarterbacks that on our last show, whatnot. Who's going to break the bank? What's the next deal, and all like that. I mean, you got to wonder what Herbert's going to get, what Burrow's going to get. We ain't even mentioned Lamar Jackson still ain't got his deal. It's like he's been up for his deal for a while now. But Jalen Hurts, he did break the bank. Highest paid quarterback in the league. You know, this always goes up every year. Somebody later on, and when the Burrow did, when that get done, he'll be the highest quarterback. So good for Jalen. I know there were some thoughts there after he fielded for Carson Wentz a couple years ago. Was he the guy? Is he the long term answer? I think he proved that last year. Got them to their first Super Bowl in a while or whatnot. So good for Jalen. Good for the Eagles. They got their guy. And the Eagles, we're gonna get to the draft in a second. They came into the draft in a great spot because if Jalen wasn't the guy, they had two picks. They could package that, move up, get their guy. And if he was their guy, they can build around him. So good move for the Eagles.
real quick. Rev,
Yeah, I
Rev,
agree.
Rev. Well, real quick. Rev Kramer, how my boys doing? I guess he's talking about me, Harv. Harv. I guess I'll just tell you this right now, Harv. I'll ask you the same question. How do we feel about Jalen Hurts signing this huge contract for the Eagles?
I'm happy for him, man. I'm really genuinely happy.
I
Not only you got to feel the pain somehow eventually, man. I just want to see how that team's going to look like and constructed with that salary. I mean, to be honest, though, you got to give credit when credit is due, man. Howie Roseman did a good job because I think he back. We got to see the details on it. I haven't seen all the details, but apparently they backlogged it for the last 2 years. So that's pretty smart, man. So you can actually still, put a team around Jalen Hurts those first 3 or 4 years. So it's pretty smart, man.
What do you think? Well, I mean, what's the next plan for these Eagles? I mean, do they go? Are they going to go get Bijan at pick 10? I mean, what is
Mm.
next for them? I mean, because let's get real.
I have no idea. I mean, they just gave him a lot of money. They lost some valuable pieces this offseason to the point that they had to bring back some older names that they probably shouldn't have had to bring back again and again and again, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They do have some younger players that they can build around, but just for Hurts, I'm really happy for him considering where he came from. He started as a freshman at Alabama, played there for 3 years, lost his job, transferred to Oklahoma when everyone thought that was a horrible decision by him, and they felt like he should have stayed at Bama and just competed and played. Did what was best for him. I believe he had, 30-something touchdowns that year at Oklahoma, and he wound up being the second-round pick of the Eagles. Was considered pretty much an afterthought. He was taken in the second round, but, of course, the guy who was supposed to be the guy there fizzled out, and it seems like Eagles fans were just trying to just push him out the door those first couple years, and he just wouldn't have let it happen. He finally got his full opportunity to be the starter. They built a solid team around him, and we saw what he can do. So, like I said, I'm really happy for him. I'm not surprised because the Eagles are a good organization, and good organizations don't. Well, it may sound like I'm throwing shade at the Ravens because the Ravens are a good organization as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
things just don't go right between an organization and a certain player. But I do think overall the Eagles are a solid organization. They handled it the way it was supposed to be handled, swiftly and efficiently, the same way the Chiefs did a few years ago with Patrick Mahomes. Now, the question is, we're not used to really bad organizations handling this type of dough. So we're talking about the Bengals and we're talking about the Chargers.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the closest the Bengals ever been to this was Carson Palmer. And before Palmer got hurt, he was pretty much considered one of the top young guys in the league, one of the next guys. And as we know, he got hurt and it was never the same after that. But they didn't even handle Palmer correctly. So it seems to be like, can we trust that the Bengals are going to do the right thing? Or is this going to be something that turns into the media sitting around discussing why haven't the Bengals still signed Joe Burrow yet?
I
I
think
think
Joe Shiesty, he's gonna be signed regardless, and he's gonna break the bank. I think Herbert goes down second. I think Burrow goes down, he's gonna have to get paid because I tell you this, he took him to the Super Bowl in his second year after a torn ACL. Crazy how
Well,
the stories we hear
And
about him about his blood pressure doesn't even raise at
yeah.
all. I mean, the guy has ice veins, man. So I mean,
um,
that's what it is. But look, we got a couple questions real quick. I know you want to say something, Kendall. Did he earn it? Rev wants to know.
yeah,
Dwight Thrasher says Hurts 100% earned it. Rev says
Wasn't he
that
second runner-up in the MVP voting?
he goes with that money. He's no longer a system
that's the
quarterback. It's
quarterback.
on him to win. So I think he's gonna feel the pressure once everything's on him. He's gonna feel that pressure, and then I think, especially with Philly people, if you're from Philly, man, we've seen them boo Santa in 1969 and 1978 and
Yeah,
1986, and they booed everything. I think yesterday on the Cowboy Cast, they even told us how they remember when Michael Irvin was there paralyzed. They were booing. They were booing on Michael Irvin. So, well, I'm just telling you. You think it's been bad for certain quarterbacks that have not been able to answer the bill? What do you think the backlash will be for Hurts? Kendall, go out with your thoughts, and of course
yeah,
you can answer to that.
yeah. My answer to that, those fans, those Philadelphia fans can be at Lincoln Financial Field. They can be rude. They can be ruthless there. So they will let them have it. I mean, that's the city of brother love. The city of brother love. They will let them have it. And also, one quick note before we get off of Jalen Hurts, he did have an ankle procedure today. He had an ankle cleanup or surgery, something minor that I read. So yeah, I think he played with that since the middle of the year. So Ray took them to the Super Bowl and had a good season where he was dealing with an ankle injury. So just a little interesting nugget there.
I got one more thing to add to that. One question. Oh, you go ahead. You want to
Y'all
read
remember
the
how much
question?
Philly hated McNabb? I remember that. Well, I
Yeah,
know you had to
Yeah.
remember that. But go ahead, Walt.
Yeah. No, so I think is it really? I think listen to me, guys like Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, Herbert. Those guys financially are kind of like in their own tier. The guy that ruined everything was Daniel Jones, because we were discussing this on the actually I wasn't, but here in Detroit they were discussing this on the radio the other day. If you're Jared Goff and you look at the deal that Daniel Jones got, who threw for 15 touchdowns in his breakout season and got $40 million, Goff has every right to go to the organization to say, "Hey, I want more than this guy." So I think the Giants giving Jones the money they gave him may have rubbed Dexter Lawrence the wrong way. It may have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because I think defensive players and supporting cast, they're perfectly fine with the quarterback making money if they think he's really the guy.
hmm
But if everyone in the locker room feels like, I'm better at my position than him, so are you. And like, why we're not getting paid? And they said they can't pay us, but this guy isn't all that. Like, if you think players don't think that, you're crazy.
Man,
So,
that's something my dad's always told me since I was young, man. It's crazy though. I mean, you would think it's 2023. You would think players would know, hey, this is my position. This is a privilege. And you know what? I'll make my money. I got to work my tail off to do it. But right now, quarterbacks are the prime time dough makers in the NFL. But if that's the way, then damn, I think the NFL has a big situation at hand with that.
I mean, as an organization, you don't have to pay.
So
Like you have an option. You don't have to.
he's asking, did Daniel Jones earn it?
I mean, he had one good year, man.
I
Uh,
guess you could say he did for what the Giants gave him. Like, I mean, talent wise, I mean, he didn't really have much to work with, and he had some decent numbers. Hey, they won a playoff game, and he was the main reason why they won it. So
Okay,
And
hear me out real quick. Hurts technically has only had one good year too. I'm just saying it's a fact. This 1 year.
yeah, but I mean, typically when you're either the MVP or runner-up and you make a Super Bowl, you get paid. So it's not like he won one playoff game and now wants to break the bank.
Well said. Well said. Let's see. I'm going to say it. Jones is the second best quarterback in his division. Who's the first? Dwight Thrasher. Okay, how many years Hurts have? How many years Hurts have? I mean, in reality, his third season, right? Last season was his best season by a large margin. It took him a while. I think what was it? They didn't really start him in the beginning, right?
Right.
And then when he did get going, he got derailed by injuries, right?
Yep.
I forgot what it was.
Second year. I don't remember what he got hurt, but he got hurt.
I remember it knocked him out half the season. Kendall, do you remember in your brain, in your almanac?
For Hurts?
Yeah, what was his injury?
When his second season?
Yeah, it was second season.
I think it was a shoulder injury.
I think you're right on that one.
I think it was a shoulder injury. Cause that would be 2021. 2021.
Yeah, it was his shoulder.
Yeah, I figured.
Damn it, you're good.
Damn Kindle, man. Almanac.
He broke his clavicle against the Bears on December 18th. So, you know what I mean? It's been unfortunate.
So he got hurt twice against the Bears then. This past season, then he get hurt against the Bears, and then 2021 season.
Rev says, I respect that. Well, so he says,
what'd I say?
Well, whatever I cut you off on. It's because so people don't know this, right? The action is in the pregame lobby and the postgame lobby. That's where all the heated stuff goes on. And I told Walt, okay, just so people know, right? It got pretty entertaining with me and Walt, you know. But I told Walt, this is your quarterback, right? Which is Jalen Hurts. But let's talk about it, right? Because obviously there's a bunch of quarterbacks right now. They're waiting in line. They're seeing this stuff. They cannot wait to get a piece of that steak and they take it home themselves, right? Whether it be Jared Goff, whether it be Justin Herbert, whether it be who's the other one? Joe Burrow. But we, as Cowboy Nations, we're afraid because you know who's next in line? Dakota Prescott. He needs to get his contract redone. So, I mean, with Dak, I understand. I think they're going to let this year play out to see if he's worth doing another of those type of contracts, or they're going to have to sit down and talk to him and tell him, you know what, Dak, you've failed in this second offense that you've technically been a part of. So, to be able to help you get to the Super Bowl.
You think you was saying to him straight like that? You think you was saying to him straight like that, Dak, you failed in a second?
Yeah, because I mean, let's be real. Jalen Hurts, what they did was they actually went and got a coaching staff and they designed it around his skill set. They did not ask him to go out there, learn option routing, reading routes, and had him turn him into a true passer. They just used his legs. And they took advantage of it, and they're running him to the ground. My question is, how long does Jalen Hurts last in the NFL to continue this route? Because I'll tell you this, I know you said previously he doesn't really take big shots, but I'll tell you this, he does take big shots on those little 4th and 1s, and they get to the huddle and they do that little sneaky stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know what the name of the play is called, but I know that they asked the NFL to look at it. But that is the time when he starts taking a shot. So how long can it really last? You know what I mean? Christopher Cruz, good to see you on East West. He says it's Hurts and Jones switched teams last year. Would the outcome be the same? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Does Daniel Jones have the same?
I don't believe
Daniel
so.
Jones had the same athleticism as Hurts,
or leadership qualities,
or
brains,
or brains.
I don't think Hurts is a prone mistake maker either. I think like some quarterbacks just have a tendency to be mistake makers. Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold drew a lot of comparisons for over the past few years because they're guys who, if you ask them to do a little too much, they just can't help themselves. They get snake bitten and bad things happen to them. So we saw what happened when Dayball came over and took things over and checked. That's why it's hard for me to really pay quarterbacks like Daniel Jones. Because I think as an organization, you have to draw the line somewhere and you have to ask yourself the question, okay, are you the one or are you the one benefiting from the sum of the parts? Because if we pay you, and that's been a big question here in Detroit with Jared Goff, is that Next offseason, if you pay Jared Goff 45, 46, 47, $50 million, you're kind of left handcuffed when it's time to pay guys like Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown, everyone that makes him the quarterback that he is. So I think, organizations have to be tough enough to draw the line somewhere. You can't let these average to somewhat above average quarterbacks pretty much knock you on the head and say, hey, I got a pulse right here. You got to pay me. I'm next up. I'm not the greatest, but I'm not the worst. Like it seems to me that's kind of how they're handcuffing these organizations. You got to pay them. No, you really don't have to. Especially if you're a good enough organization and you can build a solid team. You don't have to get in a situation where you're stuck in purgatory with an average quarterback. And too many teams get stuck that way. Whether it's the Colts, it's the Commanders, it's the Minnesota Vikings. Statistically, as solid as Kirk Cousins is, they're still talking about getting rid of him. I mean, there's rumors about Cousins being gone every year. So, I don't know. Like I said, there's only a handful of quarterbacks. And I think we all know maybe we need to figure out what the true definition of elite is.
You're right, because I think at this point we see the importance of having a great quarterback. I know Kendall. I know you're still relatively giving Mac Jones a little bit of slack, but the thing is the importance of having a quarterback and one that can not only not make the mistakes but help you get into the Super Bowl and be the reason, right, Harv?
It's true, man. Look, everybody's talking bashing on Daniel Jones, man. But I think me and my brothers have had this conversation before. I think he's a good quarterback. And people are going to be like, what? For the simple fact that he had nobody. He had no coaching staff that was going to help him progress as a quarterback. Let's be honest.
He was throwing a guy like what
Rashad
Higgins.
But his the way he would throw the ball off his foot, the way it was horrible mechanics. Everything was bad about it. But he has the ability to be a good quarterback. You just need coaching. That's what it comes down to. And if you look at 1 year with Brian, you can tell the difference that the coaching makes a difference, even if it is a system that helps him a little bit. But he has gotten better. And that's what I keep telling everybody. Some of these players are actually really good players, but it all depends on the coaching that you have and the system that you have, and does it make sense for you? And do the coaches care enough to tell you, hey, your mechanics are bad, you need to fix this, you need to fix that? Do they do that? We don't know. And that's the issue we have with Dak. He's been in the same system for so long. His buddy, right, his offensive coordinator was his backup. They're buddies. You think I'm going to tell my buddy, hey, you're not doing this right, you're not doing – no. And that's the problem. You have to have that type of coach with you. That's why I don't understand the whole Eric Bieniemy thing. He's that type of coach. And I think he's a good coach. We're going to see in Washington, but I'm just saying, man, you need those type of coaches and you need coaching. And everybody, he gets a bad rap. I get the understanding, but you could tell coaching makes a big difference, man. And I get the whole quarterbacks are going to get paid regardless. I don't care what anybody says. Either you're mediocre or not, you're going to get paid. Because a lot of organizations, even if you're decent enough, they don't want to go through that drought of having a horrible quarterback. So they have to pay you. They have no option. So,
well, let's get caught up with some of the comments. Great point, Harv. Rev says, so how many injuries are we away from being done with Dak? Same goes with Hurts. With injuries, they make too much money. As Jerry Jones likes to say, the best ability is availability. That is actually, it's like when he says, Jerry says these little sneaky stuff. He really does. Would Dak have put the numbers up that Goff did this year if they switched teams? I will say this, man, because I just did it. I just did an edit. And it was Mike Martz. He was on the Dallas Fort Worth radio station 105.3 The Fan. If you are in the Texas area, you can find them on YouTube. Go check them out. They have Jerry Jones every Tuesday. They have Stephen Jones. They just had Stephen Jones on today, I believe, out of nowhere, but they're the ones, man. They have Bobby Belt, the Dallas Cowboy insider, and they asked Mike Martz, who are you choosing, Dak or Jalen Hurts? So if you like that, go on to the Cowboy Cast and go check out that edit that's on there. It's available on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. Subscribe here too. Uh, but let's get back to that real quick. How many injuries are they away from being done? Especially like Dak. Dak is already going on what 2 years where he's missed a big chunk of time. Hurts. I mean, I understand 1 year, but if he goes another year of injuries, how long before the fan base, the coaching staff, and the owners get a little bit precautionary there and start thinking about maybe adding quarterbacks
I think now for for Philly in Dallas or
for both of them?
yeah, I think now, especially for Dallas, because Dak has been nicked up the past couple of years. It seems like there's always something bothering him, whether it's off the field or on the field. There's always something bothering Dak. I think Hurts. I wouldn't say he's injury prone, but he did get hurt this past year or whatnot. And I think you said 2021 he was hurt or whatnot for a little bit.
He broke his
But I think
clavicle
how much did he miss half the season? No, 'cause I know they made it to the playoffs when they lost to Tampa.
December 18th. So technically, yeah, because I mean it's pretty much that, and then the playoffs too.
Yeah,
They made the
but
playoffs.
yeah, and lost to Tampa that year.
Yep,
Right. Yeah. So I think now, Eagles back up. They lost. They lost. The
Gardner.
back. Yeah. They still got him. Or I thought they lose him? He went somewhere, I believe, and they might still have him there. But I think with the Eagles and whatnot, I think the time is now because you these two quarterbacks they're being hurt the past couple of years, especially that. And I think this year in the draft, maybe the Cowboys when they did bring back Cooper Rush or whatnot, but maybe this sometime this year in the draft they'll look for that to get like a third string quarterback in just in case because you never know with these injuries and whatnot. And it seems like the quarterbacks always get caught their broken clavicle or it's like a knee or something for a quarterback.
What do you think also about the second one? Would Dak have put up the same numbers that
In Detroit,
yeah, in Detroit?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, two different schemes and whatnot. Detroit got a good offensive line, decent running game. Jameson Williams was hurt, so the only option there was Armand St. Brown. They traded Hawkinson halfway through the season. So, but and I think that front office that got Goff there, they was with him with the Rams. So there's some kind of they can relate there. I don't think so. No.
What do you think? Well, I mean, you're a Detroit native yourself. Your Lions. Everybody wanted your offensive coordinator for head. I mean, I think if he continues his success, he's going to be a head coach in the offseason. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Also, Goff had 2 full years within this offense,
Yeah.
and Goff put up some clean numbers. They weren't really the sexy numbers that you would expect in this day and age. People are kind of surprised by it. He had I think 25 touchdown passes,
Right.
which is kind of pedestrian in this day and age. But he had the low interceptions. He had the high completion percentage. A lot of it was due to the fact that we really didn't take a lot of chances downfield. So I think the completion percentages can be a little misleading when it comes to how you evaluate a lot of these quarterbacks, especially if it's a quarterback that doesn't play in an offense that requires them to take a lot of chances. So I don't know. I mean, Goff was clean. Could Dak? I mean, Dak and Goff are kind of like very similar quarterbacks, even though Goff has gotten further in the playoffs than Dak has. But I don't know. I mean, that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there because at the end of the day, I don't believe either guy is really the full long-term answer if you want to win long-term. Because anybody can win, like a flash in the pan, one of those microwave Super Bowls where you happen to catch the league off guard that one particular year and catch lightning in the bottle. But if you want to win long-term, you need to solve the quarterback position. I think everybody understands that.
I mean, I say this. I think Dak would have probably excelled a little bit more than Golf. Harv, I don't know if you want to chime in on that one. It was a good question by Ty Thresher.
I I don't I, you know I don't know, man. I really can't say he would or not because he's been in the same system his whole life, like as far as an NFL quarterback. So I don't really know if he would or not, depending on the scheme. But I think for me, Dak has to have that kind of offense that is a quick read, 1, 2, 3, and dump to the tight end or to the running back. You can't get too complicated with Dak. He's a rhythm quarterback. So if you get him in rhythm, quick short passes, that kind of helps him out. But if you're talking about a system where he has to read defenses and do all these things, which I think he can, right? I really do think he can. But it's the problem is the offense that's implemented that Kellen Moore had, and then reading the defenses is just too hard, man. It's just too hard for him.
I didn't see the Lions doing many option routes on theirs. I mean, I'm on St. Brown.
Not like the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, I was just saying I'm on St. Brown with just killing people in the slot, man. So that's why I agree a little bit. And what Rev says absolutely right. The reason you don't pay Daniel Jones is because no one in the NFL actually wanted him. Oof, that's a little hard. Question for Kendall: 1 to 10, how much do you like Mac Jones?
Sorry about that, Dwight. I don't like Mac Jones. I love Mac Jones, and the scale. I wish you said 1 to 20 because I'd say a 20. That's what it is. I love Mac Jones. That's my quarterback.
That is too good. So it's an infinity sign, right? I guess we'll just leave it at infinity, right? That's what I'd be concerned about. Jalen Hurts, tremendous playmaker and leader. Take away his running game, can he win with just his arm? I think this is hesitation on Lamar Jackson right now. Ooh, I don't think anybody's put that spin on the reason why he hasn't signed.
This is the thing for me about the Lamar situation.
It's a good little spin though.
If they offered you $200 million guaranteed, my dad always said, you can never fix stupid, right? But I'll tell you what, man, $200 million guaranteed. Why would you not take that? That makes no sense. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I really don't. Because Lamar Jackson has I want to know what's his playoff record? That's the question. Because to me, Jalen Hurts is 2-2 in the playoffs. Joe Burrow's 5-2 in the playoffs. I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about paying guys,
I mean, Herbert's 0-1.
Lamar Jackson has 1 win in the playoffs in his career.
Out of how many? And how many losses?
He's 1-3.
So you wouldn't take the $200 million. I'm telling you, man, you can't fix stupid.
My whole thing is that since the beginning, the Ravens have been pretty tight-lipped about things, not letting the media know anything, and so has Lamar Jackson. So we've had a bunch of pretty much media rumors thrown around about, I heard he turned down 400. Well, I heard he turned down 2. Has any of these numbers been put in concrete? That's why, like, for me, I kind of left the Lamar thing alone until someone can actually come with some proof, some tangible numbers. Otherwise, we're throwing numbers up in the air. Like, there's no concrete proof that he turned anything down. I've never seen it. Now, if anyone else has seen it, maybe they can bring it up. But that's what makes this whole Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Raven thing strange, because, like, you're married, you're still living in the same house, but you're walking around each other, giving each other the silent treatment. So, I mean, like, is it really, like, we really don't know what's going on with Baltimore and him right now. All we know is I think something happened. I think people are making a bigger assumption saying that it's Deshaun Watson and that he wants more than Deshaun Watson. We've never heard that. That's been all speculation. So, I don't know. I mean, everybody's getting paid. Jones is getting paid. Herbert's got one playoff loss under his belt, which turned out to be an epic collapse. I don't think that's going to stop him from getting whatever money he's going to get. So,
actually, Ian Rappaport reported that on the Pat McAfee show.
Damn.
But I mean, has we heard anything from him, or is it just
they're not going to say anything though? They're not going to say anything. But if you're hearing it from Ian Rappaport, I don't think that's the type of dude to be like, no, that's not true. It's got to have some truth to it, man. I'm just saying.
I mean, if we choose, I think it comes down to what do you want to believe from certain people.
So you don't believe in it?
Him, Schefter, all these guys, none of these guys are batting 1,000 now. Come on now. Like, we've heard these guys have been wrong about things before.
No, I got you.
These guys have been
But
misled about things before. But I'm just saying, like, we haven't had anything thrown out there as proof. All of this is just hearsay. We haven't heard anything actually thrown out there yet
The only
from people who matter, not just the Pat McAfee gossip or Aaron Rodgers saying something or anybody like that. We haven't really heard anything tangible. I think it's right now people just throwing stuff at Lamar, assuming he turned these fictitious numbers down with no proof. Just like I keep explaining the entire Deshaun Watson thing. People are throwing that out there as an assumption. Oh, well, none of this happened until Watson got his money, so that must be what it is. There's no proof that's what it is. But I understand when there's no news, sometimes you got to create news, and you got to create a situation out of a situation where there is no tangible proof. But I'm just saying for people to, I understand Lamar doesn't have an agent. I understand he took the unconventional route. I also understand that he to me, he shortchanged himself. He should have went with an agent from the very beginning. But at the end of the day, we still don't have any proof of what these numbers are. That's my whole thing.
The proof is that they haven't agreed, right? So
that's the only proof we have. There's something going on.
Yeah,
there's something going on.
Hopefully they fix it, because damn it, I've heard it from other people too. I've heard it from other sources too. The Ravens have made that offense tailored to his skill set. So if he loses, he's gonna have to go somewhere and become a quarterback, or damn it, he's gonna have to be patient and let them build the team.
He's gonna have to play quarterback, man.
Yeah, so he needs to be careful. That's right, Kendall. Love your quarterback. That should be number one rule for any fan base. Dwight Thrasher says Hurts' running game is kind of like Mahomes. He runs when he needs to be but he is winning with his arm. Ooh, okay. And then Rev says, look at Jalen's passing stats. You paying him based on just passing? It's a good question. I will say this: Jalen Hurts did have a good year last year. He had 3,700 yards passing. He had 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The year before that, he did have 3,144 yards. He had 16 TDs and 9 touchdowns. I understand there was an injury December 18th. But yes, I think the dual threat there helps him out. He was dropping absolute dimes to Brown and Smith. Takes a good quarterback to make 2 wide receivers Pro Bowlers. Dwight, you want to give credit where credit is due. I will tell you this: Howie Roseman has definitely helped out Jalen Hurts, bringing in the right coaching system, and of course the playmakers to make the plays for him. Hey, hats off to them. Just shows you the importance. But gentlemen, we are 9 days away from the 2023 NFL Draft. With this great topic that we were on, right? We all see it different ways. Crazy thing is that if you don't have your quarterback yet, you got to find yours for the future. You love yours right now, Kendall. Harvey and I, we accept ours. Walt, I know the same thing. You accept yours right now.
I ain't got no choice, man.
This is it is what it is, man. It's just like in high school or in junior high. They say, hey, that's your quarterback, whatever. But anyways, the question, we have a couple of things, right? Because there's some news. Allen Robinson got traded. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. But my question to you, right, is, when we look around, there's a rumor going around, right? Because we had talked about Will Anderson. People just stopped talking about him. But now, right. I don't know. We just put the salt on the lime or what? After we did that live, now we see Will Anderson might be the number 2 pick if Bryce Young is taken. Walt, you are the draft. You're the draft guru here on East West. I need to know right now, what are your thoughts with Will Anderson at 2 and they pass up on CJ Stroud? What do you think? What should be the right move for them if they cannot get a trade partner down?
It's difficult for me to really base. Not necessarily base. It's really difficult for me to put down exactly what Houston should do, because, like I said, DeMeco Ryans is the head coach there now. You got we honestly don't know how they feel about this quarterback class. But part of me, I still believe that if they would have hired an offensive head coach, they probably would go quarterback. Defensive-minded head coaches. Remember the year that the Rams had the number 1 pick when they drafted Jared Goff, when Jeff Fisher was still there. Didn't he? Who was it that Jeff Fisher wanted instead of Jared Goff? Because I know he didn't want Goff, and he didn't want Wentz either. I think it was a defensive player he wanted. But defensive head coaches have a tendency, just like offensive head coaches do, to favor towards their side of the field. And sometimes you need someone to be the adult in the room, the unbiased one in the room, to say, hey, listen, no defensive guy, we need this offensive guy. No offensive guy, we need this defensive guy. Now, if we go back to last year's class, there was no number one guy. There was honestly, I thought Kenny Pickett was overdrafted, honestly, by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So everyone kept saying, well, wait till 2023. That's when the stars are going to be there. And we saw through an entire season, guys like Tyler Van Dyke get weeded out. We saw Phil Jakovic, he got weeded out. A lot of those names that were there in the preseason eventually got weeded out, and now we're left with the guys who were always there along. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Levis to a lesser extent, and also Anthony Richardson. So, personally, I like this quarterback class. People are saying now all of a sudden this class isn't that good. Wait till next year. So when next year comes, people are going to poo-poo next year's class. Oh, wait till the following year. Just keep kicking the can down the road. My thing is this: when you're picking this high, and if you're Houston, are you really going to trot Davis Mills back out there again? And then, when you draft a quarterback, when you're picking this high and you select the quarterback, it gives your fan base hope. Even if you don't necessarily believe in the quarterback yourself as a fan or know much about the quarterback, it sells hope because no one believes, I'm pretty sure, in Davis Mills anymore. I believed in Mills for a second, but he's another guy that wasn't put in the best position in Houston. He did the best he could, but from what I saw from him in year 2, he completely regressed, showed a lot of horrible habits. So I do believe quarterback is the direction to go to. Personally, I would, because I just feel like when you don't have a quarterback and you're picking number 2 overall, and there's quality quarterbacks. This isn't Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, and Sam Darnold or whatever. Like, these are quality quarterbacks. And you don't want to be sitting in a situation where Carolina took Stroud number 1, or Levis or Richardson or Young or whoever, and you're the guy that sat at number 2 and took a damn off-the-ball linebacker. And as much as I like Will Anderson, I would not take Will Anderson number 2 overall. I wouldn't. Especially if I was a team that needed a quarterback, obviously needed a quarterback. I would not stay at number 2 and take an off-ball linebacker. Now, if you think he's Micah Parsons, which I don't think he is, I think Will Anderson is a good player. But it's just, to me, it seems negligent for a team that doesn't have a quarterback to stay at number 2 and pass on 3 elite prospects, potential elite prospects, and take a linebacker. Or even if it was Jalen Carter, for that matter. If Carter works out, fine. If Will Anderson works out, fine. But if those quarterbacks hit, nobody gives a damn about Will Anderson. If Stroud turns out to be a star somewhere else, a Young turns out to be a star somewhere else, no one's going to care about it. You have to hit the quarterback position. There's no guarantee you're going to get Drake May next year or Caleb Williams. A lot can happen over the next 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Guys who we thought were top prospects last June turned out to be complete duds. So I think you can't keep winging it, waiting on the future like that, man. Sometimes when it's staring you right in the face, you got to say, hit me. Scared money don't make no money, man. And to me, it's like bad organizations, they handle things like this. The Chiefs handled it right. They had an 11-win team under Alex Smith and said that wasn't enough. And they went out, and when everybody who thought they were smarter than Andy Reid said it was foolish for him to do what he did, the rest is history. So I would take a quarterback because I like this quarterback class. And for me, I just don't think Will Anderson, he doesn't move the needle for Houston. He doesn't really make them that much better. Well, he does, but as far as a team, no, it doesn't. Because you're looking at what? Trevor Lawrence is in your division. You're going to let the Colts we expect the Colts to take a quarterback, right?
Oh, yeah. And I believe they're picking 4th right after the Cardinals.
Okay, so you're going to let 2, maybe 3 years pass and let all the other 3 teams, Tennessee also. You're going to let the other 3 teams, your division, all get quarterbacks. You're going to stay there and take a damn linebacker. I'm just trying to make sense of this. You're going to let the Colts get better. The Jags already got their guy. And then there's a good chance, maybe they honestly don't like Stroud. Or they don't like Levis. Or they don't like Richardson. But if that's the case, trade down. Don't stay there and take a defensive player. Trade down.
It's a lot to talk to till then. Kendall, what do you think, Kendall?
I think Walt said a mouthful there. He said mostly what I was thinking there on the mainly on the Colts front anyway, with them getting Stroud and with the Texans. A lot of Will Anderson, good player. But I think just about every mark I've seen, they got him going to the Cardinals. I think they've already turned that card in there. And I just feel like I agree with Walt 100%. I mean, if you're Houston, he made a great point about the division getting better, and you just sitting there taking a linebacker that's not going to really move that needle. So I 100% all in right there with Walt on that last statement.
Harv, anything?
I don't know. I think Rev was the one that broke the news about the Houston Texans. I'm sure you'll cover that, but he's the first one that said, and then we started hearing it from a lot of people that if they take Bryce Young, they don't like any of the other quarterbacks. So, I mean, it could be true, man. You know, at the end of the day, in my opinion, I understand what Walt's saying, but sometimes, man, if you don't like the guys, why would you even pick them just because you're at number 2? If you don't like a guy, don't take him just because you have to. You know what I mean? Not only that, but you also got to think about DeMeco Ryans, what he saw in San Francisco. Is it Slowick? Can Slowick replicate that? We don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying those are the things I'm trying to say is that, hey, don't worry about the defense. I got the defense. We can stop them. We'll get some pieces. But I don't think I need an elite quarterback. I don't know that. I don't know. So it's a lot of questions, man.
I would hope DeMeco doesn't feel that way. I mean, someone brought that up on a show I was watching earlier about seeing what the 49ers went through with Trey Lance. But on a year-to-year basis, you can't compare Trey Lance to who's in this class, though. These are different kids.
I know, but you still, look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. The statistics, if you want to talk about statistics, no matter where you draft a quarterback in any round, you have a 10% chance to win a Super Bowl with that quarterback. 10%. Regardless of where he gets picked. It's all 10%. So, I don't know, man.
There's been, what was it, Harv? 33? No.
30? Yeah, 33 or 36. I can't remember off the top of my head. Winning quarterbacks, Super Bowl quarterbacks.
That's how many quarterbacks in the NFL history that have won the Super Bowl.
That's 36. Crazy, man.
It's crazy. And there's 50,
I'm just saying.
57 Super Bowls and 10% chance. But, I mean, like you said, all great points. I think, if anything, Houston, I hope you really pay attention to this, right? Because we saw this happen with the Washington Commanders.
Yep.
They passed on Joey B and Tua Tagovailoa for Chase Young, and look at them now. They are going forward with the 5th round pick, Sam Howell. You know, and they've gone through.
But you also got to think, guys. You can say that, but have they really made a bad choice? Think about it logically. Have they really made a bad choice?
I think yes. I mean, they let go of Taylor Heineke. That's a bad choice.
No, I got you. I'm talking about those quarterbacks you just named.
Oh, with Joey Burrow, that was out of their hands.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was in their hands. Actually,
well, I'm talking about. You're talking about.
They won that meaningless game. They had the first pick overall.
Yeah, that was just stupid.
But Justin Herbert, I would like Justin Herbert.
No, I got you. But what has he really done?
I mean, he's got him. Justin's put up a good fight.
No, he has. Don't get me wrong.
Reason.
He's a good quarterback. I'm not trying to say he's not, but I mean, it's not to the point where you're like, oh my God, we totally missed that one.
I think the league did miss on him.
They did. No, they did. I know they did. But what I'm saying
Detroit
as of right now, until we might not know for another couple of years. Really,
Well,
you know what I mean?
Javi, let me ask you this, because I think we all view the Chargers organization as a whole kind of similar. Do you, if he never has success with the Chargers, if he turns out to be Phillip Rivers, just constantly they're surviving on his right arm, and they're blowing games due to bad coaching or blunders, missed field goals, mixed extra points, you can't really blame him for that though. Because I think he's doing the best he can. I think if you look at the Chargers situation, they're winning because of him. He's definitely the reason. I don't think it's the head coach and Staley. That offense has been, not necessarily the offense, but they've been snake bitten injury wise forever. Forever they've been that way. And we've watched games over the past couple seasons where it took Herbert's right arm to bail them out of a lot of stupidity.
No, and I get all that. I'm just saying I'm not going to go into the whole. I'm just saying right now you can't really say that though.
Well, I mean, he's going to get paid. And
Yeah,
I
he's going to
think
get paid.
if he was on the market, he would be super
I'm
paid.
pretty sure all the Charger fans are glad that the Redskins didn't take Justin.
Now, if you told me that what Joe Burrow did, Justin Herbert did that, then I'd be like, no, man, they messed up. They really did.
I don't know, Harvard. I think you're nitpicky, man. I think
no, I'm not because
Justin Herbert's a pretty
I'm
good.
not saying I'm saying he's good, but I'm not saying y'all are making it seem like, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Yeah,
it's on Justin Herbert. I don't think that's the deal.
Yeah, they blew it. Chase Young, he's going to be there next year. Chase Young going to be there next year.
I don't think so.
Rev wants to make it a point that that we all know that he loves Dak.
Whatever, man.
Rev says, I brought you all the news early about Houston not taking quarterback from Bryce Young. Crazy stuff he did.
Yeah,
We've been hearing Tyree Wilson too, so it may not even be Will Anderson.
It may not be Will Anderson. You're right. I got 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. That's a great year for quarterback draft prospects. Wow, Stroud going to the Colts could turn them around quick. And I mean, it's a closed dome. It would work out. I'm taking Will Anderson number 1. He's the best player in this draft. Wow, that's what they were saying about Jalen Carter, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Then he says Colts need Stroud. That's a fact. That would be a great matchup. Black Mamba, what's going on? We're having a good little discourse. You know, some people want to say debate. That's all good, man. We're having fun. What's good, Mamba? Rev. Taking a quarterback doesn't automatically make you better. The Browns have taken more quarterbacks in the first round. They always think it up, right? I mean, there is some truth, right?
10%, baby, 10%.
I mean, it started.
The Browns are the Browns, though.
Yeah, the Browns are the Browns. I think where they gave themselves the black magic was going with Brandon Whedon, right at the age of 30.
Hey.
Oh my God!
Who was the third guy? Who was the third guy they took the year that they fanned on all 3 picks? I know it was Manziel, Justin Gilbert,
and Brandon Whedon.
Brandon Whedon was the first round pick. Dang.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, no, because the year that they took Manziel, because it was Manziel, Justin Gilbert, the corner.
I know
they took some other dude that fizzled out
of Notre Dame.
Oh, Brady Quinn?
No. On Deshaun Kaiser. Was it Kaiser?
No, they didn't take. Well, they took Kaiser was a second round pick.
Second round. So you saying he was a first rounder?
Yeah, the year that they took Manziel, I believe they took Justin Gilbert at 7, and then they took somebody else that fizzled out. But the Browns have had a lot of fizzles.
They took somebody else that year or the next year?
I don't know. It was that year. They had 3 first round picks, but
a quarter.
No,
it was Baylor, wasn't it? The receiver? No, it was not.
Corey Coleman.
No.
Yeah, Corey Coleman.
Was it Coleman in here?
I believe they took the running back Trent Richardson. I don't
think that was the year
with the 5th pick.
Well, they blew it. They blew it.
Brandon Whedon.
They blew it. They blew it with Courtney Brown and a whole lot of people.
Yeah, they have. Black Mamba wants to give a shout out to Rev. We all know each other. We're on the same community. Mamba, what's up? That's from Dwight. DT, I do believe if the Colts take Stroud, they will be better. What's going on, DT? I don't know. Matt Ryan was pretty bad. Ooh, I'm taking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I'm unsure about the rest of the quarterbacks, though. I agree with Rev. And do y'all remember the year when the Chargers had the number 1 offense, number 1 defense, and still missed the playoffs? Can't win. Damn.
Yep.
I think that's the reason.
I remember that.
That's Charger for you.
I
Yep.
think that's the reason why Eli Manning didn't want to go to the Chargers, right? I think he called AJ Smith, right? The no rings or what do you call him? Sorry, Javi. I agree with Walt. Herbert should ask for a trade. Laughing out loud. Jeez, Louise, man. The
Nah,
thing
Herbert's
is
a
that
pretty nice guy, man.
He's
yeah,
a
he's a
good
good
dude.
guy. He's a
Maybe
good
to a
dude.
fault.
He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk.
He ain't getting traded.
Yeah, he ain't getting traded. But Allen Robinson, just give me a thumbs up. We don't have to go too much in depth already. Allen Robinson, did you like it? What's going on? Yeah, give me
Makes
a thumbs up.
sense. Makes no
Kendall?
Yeah,
sense.
good
You like
trade. Good, low risk, high reward. Good trade.
Alias, I'm always late. I'm disappointed. Now you're good. We're in the middle of it. We had a great debate about the quarterback situation. I think it's going to get a little bit out of hand. I think if anything from the biggest takeaway was I think Geno Smith kind of set a good precedence, and so did Derek Carr, right, with those contracts that they took for their teams. I think Geno Smith, was more admirable. I think, and if these quarterbacks do not cannot get their team to the promised land or to a Super Bowl, I think if anything, they need to relook at themselves. I think Geno Smith has looked at himself in the mirror. So has Derek Carr. I think they're both getting paid 32 mil, which that would help out any team. Paying your quarterback 32, you're able to allocate that to the resources that they need, whether it be a wide receiver, running back, or offensive line, right, or even a tight end, right? Rev says arm talent 1, Patrick Mahomes 2, Justin Herbert. That's funny. Aaliyah, I'm always late. You are on time. I agree. That's great stuff. But so you liked Allen Robinson. We didn't like Allen Robinson. I don't know what's going on with Allen Robinson. I don't know if it was just he didn't understand the schematics of what was going on with the Rams, but
He was hurt too. Got hurt.
yeah, we've seen him at his best, and he looks like he could be a very serviceable wide receiver. But maybe this is good, another change of scenery. But this will be his third time, and I'll tell you this: if Allen Robinson doesn't work out here, I think this is it for him in the NFL. Yeah. Last but not least, we want to talk about it, man. The draft is coming up. The champs and the defending Super Bowl champs.
The champs with the cheese.
The cheese.
The champs.
Who should the Chiefs? I'm gonna ask. I'll ask all of y'all. But I want Kendall to go first. What do the Chiefs do in the 2023 NFL draft in the first round to continue their success and being the champs? and being the champs in the NFL. No, I'm reading a comment. Rev says, "Poor Justin Herbert," right? Because I think he's like, man, I don't even say nothing. I leave you guys alone. I put on a show, and you guys are harsh on me. No, Justin, it's all love, man. But Kendall, go ahead. What do you think the Chiefs can do? I mean, there's some players that we've heard that might be available there at well, it would have been pick 32, 31. But it's going to be 31.
Yeah, I think they need to grab a wide receiver, whichever that's left, that's good enough for a first-round talent. I know we joked pregame show, maybe Josh Downs, Mingo was there. I think Harvey even said Gibbs go running. I think they need to get a wide receiver because right now they have Sky Moore, Bentley Scantling. They signed Richie James from the Giants. I'm missing somebody they got. Was it Watson? Somebody they signed another. They signed one of their guys back. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster. They lost McCole Hardman. They need somebody that can create. That can be like they need an extra receiver. Somebody can get down the field, separate, and just be that dog for them. Hell, maybe after the draft they might trade for DeAndre Hopkins or something like that. But they got to make a couple moves there. They kind of short on that wide receiver. They got a bunch of short guys. Bentley Scantling is really the only one that fears you, and he's just a deep threat. And he suffers from drop a lot as he drops a lot of balls. So I think they need I think they should go wide receiver. I think Downs would be a good pick, Mingo, and I think Tank Bell. He looks like a Kansas City Chief. I can see Tank Bell going there. The receiver they traded from the Giants. I forgot to mention his name.
Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius, yeah. They got him too. They got a lot of jitterbug. I think they just need to go ahead and get somebody that can be that dog on the outside and get downfield. I think the Chiefs would be right back in the Super Bowl conversation next year.
What do you think, Harv?
I know they got Pacheco, man, but you can't pass up great talent, and that's what the Chiefs don't do. I think they might take Gibbs, man, if he's there.
Damn, and they still got right head towards Allaire too, man.
Can you imagine with that 1-2 punch, Pacheco and Gibbs together. You motion out Gibbs, maybe in the slot, maybe.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you could do a lot of things. So there's 3 players that keep in mind for me. Gibbs, the other one, if he falls, be careful. If Kincaid falls, I could see Kansas City taking Kincaid. Can you imagine running a double tight end?
Wow.
With Kincaid and Kelsey, 2 Ks.
The other person would probably be Josh Downs. But I'm telling you, that Kincaid one, if he lands on 31, be very careful, because I'm not saying it's a quick decision for them, but they might have to think about taking that guy. So those are my 3.
Let me ask you, before you get going on this, do the Chiefs have that luxury of being able to pick a, not a non-top 5 prospect, right? When I say top 5, I mean quarterback, offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge rusher, cornerback. Do they have that luxury where they can pick anywhere? Have they done enough?
Yeah, I think they do, and it's mainly because they have they got the head coach for sure. Let me get close to my mic. They got the head coach for sure. They got the quarterback. They got the system in place. They got a big time star in Chris Jones on the defensive side of the ball. They got some solid pieces around him. They cashed in on the draft picks they got from the Miami Dolphins and the Tyreek Hill trade, and parlayed that into 3 guys who played significant roles for them last year. So I think, and I agree with Javi and Kendall. For one, and I talked to Jerry about this, I believe, a few days ago. They escaped last year. Now, the Chiefs were good, but they kind of escaped with that receiver room they had. That receiver room was not good last year. And Kelsey showed you how valuable his relationship really is with Patrick Mahomes. So I also agree. I think at number 31, they could go wide receiver. They could say, screw it, we like a Jalen Hyatt or somebody, and go with that. Because a guy like Andy Reid could view him. You could look at Jahmyr Gibbs also. He could be his Brian Westbrook type of player within that offense. But I want to go to the defensive side of the ball, because I think a guy who's been pretty quiet lately the past few months is a safety, Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M, who I think he can
pretty good.
He can play some slot. He can cover in the slot. He's 6'3". He's got long arms. I believe he's about 205. And he can cover some tight ends. He can play on the back end. He can cover underneath. He can come up playing run support. He's the type of versatile athlete in that secondary I think will help them out a lot. I also believe they need another impact player on that front 7. Karlaftis, I'm not sure if he's going to be the consistent disruption that they really need next to Chris Jones, but if they can get another guy.
Yeah, they lost Frank Clark too. He's still a free, so I don't know if they'll bring him back after the draft or something like that. They lost Frank Clark. George Karlaftis had a solid year, but didn't no big numbers or whatnot. He did show some flashes, so maybe they go defense. I'll say defensive end, wide receiver, or like Harvey said, Jahmyr Gibbs. Just imagine Gibbs in that offense, man. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think they definitely need another weapon, whether it's a versatile running back, because Gibbs can play in the slot as well.
And you mentioned that about the wide receivers from last year.
Orlando Brown too, right?
Yeah.
So everything's on the table, I think, for the Chiefs, but damn, they'd look good. So this is why Rev said poor Justin Herbert, because Aaliyah said, isn't Kellen Moore Justin's new offensive coordinator? And that's why Rev said poor Justin Herbert, not because of what we were saying. Chiefs can draft a wide receiver. I'm sorry, I didn't say hi to your friends yet. I didn't mean to come off rude. By the way, hello, everyone. That's Aaliyah. She's a sweetheart. Give socials on Walt and Kendall. Love to connect. Yeah. Post it up there. Or how can Rev connect with you guys?
Ken's Pat Stock on YouTube, and it's not showing up here. Well, yeah, Kendall Whitley on Twitter, Kendall_Whitley. That's with 2 Y's, WHITLEYY. And just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ken's Pat's Talk.
Well, what handle are you most active on?
I tried to put it up here. I don't know if it came up, if this the comment was blocking the bottom screen, but yep, it's the at the Av Lions, and that page is Detroit Lions Avenue on YouTube.
Are you active on Twitter or Instagram right now?
Not at all.
I know you.
But if you want to get in contact with me on Instagram though, it's WS_for mayor.
for mayor.
Yep.
All right. Dwight Thrasher says Chiefs need to go with a defensive player. You can just plug and play wide receivers with Mahomes. I think he's on something.
That's what they thought with McCole Hardman until they realized he really couldn't catch and he really couldn't run anything.
Black Mamba agree with Harvey there on what they should do. Darnell Washington, the Chiefs. Damn, talk about a damn good 2 tight end system right there. Christian Watson drafted early last year. This draft got some speedy wide receivers. Yes, it does. Well, what do you say? Yes or no?
I think Hyatt's the one really fast guy as far as the upper echelon receivers.
Why does he get so wide open? Just please explain that to me, man. Every time you see that guy, he's so wide open. What is it?
Well, I mean, Tennessee has a tendency to. It's not like they cheating or anything. I mean, they stretch you horizontally. They make you defend so much space, and when you got that type of receiver that gets that much space, I will say this. It's not like the guy was just running wide open. If you go back and you watch the Alabama game, the Alabama game back in 2022 was the game where kind of raised him to some Biletnikoff award-winning, stratosphere. He consistently got on top of those corners. And the moment he gets past that corner, your safety is toast. And Ashanti and I discussed Jalen Hyatt in a scouting video a few weeks ago. The thing is that people are worried about how can he handle man coverage. The amount of times that he did have man coverage, he was able to get off. That's the whole thing. He's got strong hands. He has the ability to really get deep. That's the whole thing about it. If you get on top of that safety, it's curtains. So you have to defend. My thing is, whatever team it is, whatever team drafts him, you have to account for that speed. That's why I felt the way I felt about him in comparison to the rest of these receivers. He's the only one with an elite trait. The only one.
Wow.
Quentin Johnston gets the hype he gets because he's the only 6'3" guy. I think Jordan Addison gets the hype he gets because of the Biletnikoff season he had with Pitt. But you look at him for what he is, he's smaller than Hyatt. He's not as fast as Hyatt. He doesn't play as physical as Hyatt. A guy like Josh Downs, who had a case of the drops last season, his final 4 games, so he kind of slid down draft boards. I just think that for me to take a receiver in the first round, you have to have some sort of elite trait. Even Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's not an elite athlete, but he's an elite route runner. Those are pretty much the only 2 guys that have an elite trait. And speed is an elite trait. And you put him in the right system. Listen, you guys are Cowboy fans. You watch Deshaun Jackson build a Pro Bowl career off running deep posts, slants, returning punts, and running fades.
You're bringing back old scars, man.
I'm just saying, people felt that Deshaun was too small. They felt that Deshaun couldn't catch. They felt that Deshaun, coming out of California, he was too small, he couldn't catch, and he couldn't run routes. But you gave him to Andy Reid, and the rest is history.
True that.
I'm just saying, I think Hyatt can have that Deshaun Jackson type of impact.
Damn, that's pretty bold. Coleman would be a good fit. I guess she's saying with the Chiefs. Put it in the Discord. You guys are in the Cowboy Cast Discord, right?
Wait a minute, yeah, I think I am.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so if you can on the group text, go ahead and put your @ so you can connect. Rev is a great guy, knows his football. Yeah, he is a Cowboy, but he's well connected. I would say that.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that connection with him.
Fake fast.
He has that fake fast. I love it, Black Mamba. Dwight Thrasher says speed. He comes up on you so fast you can't get deep enough. Ooh.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. He's not a track guy that can't gauge his speed. He does a good job of gauging the speed as well. So
she put it up there twice. He has that fake fast speed. And Grev says he reminds him of Ted Ginn. Wow. I can kind of see the body structure, the speed. I get where you're going with it. Dwight Thrasher, I agree, Rev. Wow. Off topic, do you think the Cowboys would be able to sign or I guess to trade for Stephon Diggs? Laughing out loud. That's been our offseason.
No, man.
Yeah, it's. I think it started with Trayvon. I think Trayvon literally had Cowboy Nation saying, chant for my brother. We can reunite and we win this Super Bowl together. So I don't see the Stephon Diggs thing happening. Maybe perhaps I think
Quandre Diggs? I don't know.
maybe perhaps after this year, maybe that's a possibility. I just think that I think the Cowboys have done enough. I think they believe they've done enough with what they've done in this offseason. So did everybody take a turn with the last commitment with or the last one with the Chiefs adding
Yep.
Yep.
player? Hyatt could be another Terrell Owens. Holy shoot. Quinn John reminds me of T.O. Wow, I love the takes here. I don't know. Have you been able to put together player comps? Well,
For Hyatt?
off of all the players.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt is a guy that does kind of remind me of Ted Ginn a little bit. I think he's got better ball skills than Ginn. He's got better hands. If you watch the film on him, I think a lot of people believe he was just some guy that could just track the deep ball, which he does do very well, but he's a hands catcher as well. Quentin Johnston is different, man. He's a little strange. He's an odd athlete. They tell you he's this freak, but when you watch him, sometimes you'll see one game where it's like, okay, he looks fast, then another game he doesn't. Sometimes he'll high point the ball. Most of the time he doesn't. He doesn't play physical at all. He's got like a real skinny lower body. Like he's a really odd prospect to be.
He's that type of dude that wears pants and sags them, but he really needs a belt to keep it all in because he ain't got nothing down there. You know what I mean?
That's a great way of putting it, I guess.
He looks like Sidney Rice. You remember Sidney Rice?
Yeah, Sidney Rice. Yeah. Vikings.
Yeah.
That is kind of a good
A little
comp.
bigger. He's bigger than Sydney, I believe. Though.
Yeah, I think he is.
I was gonna say I remember City being a little smaller. I guess people were curious since he didn't show up to the Bills practice thing or something. That is something that is real.
Ooh.
That is real news. Like I believe it's what is it? OTAs, right? No. It's not OTAs.
Who you talking about?
Stephon Diggs, he didn't show up to the voluntary practices. I'm sorry, that's what they call it. So that's why she says people were making a story about it. Well, that's it for us, man. This was definitely a fun exercise. I mean, we went through 3 segments. I think the consensus is that we really don't know, and we're really seeing things a little differently. But that's what you want to see, and the beauty of this thing called the NFL, right? I think if we all kind of agreed, I think it would make it for a boring show. Black Mama wanted to add, yes, Sydney, I wish I could catch right.
They both was 6'3" though, around the same slim, skinny body types.
Rev says the show is fire. Hey, we appreciate you, Rev. That's it for us, man. Anything else, guys, before we get off?
That's it.
Don't believe anything you hear over the next 8 days, 9 days. It's all hogwash.
I think I am gonna stick with Walt on this one. I think
9 more days.
Yeah,
the Panthers are taking Will Levis #1 over. I'm gonna start a whole bunch of goofy rumors over the next few days and see how far they go.
That's the only thing that we can do, right? But that's it for us, guys. Tune in. I believe we should be live on Thursday. I'm sorry.